Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our City Council meetings this evening for September 10th, 2025. We'll get started tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance by Megan Bennett.
Oh, good. You all are already on it. I was going to ask you to stand. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. And we'll go to item 4.2, City Council comments and recognitions.
So, Mayor, if it's okay, when I met with the Youth Council the other day, I said one of the things I'll miss most about being on City Council is standing up and saying the pledge. It's not something I typically do just in my home setting, but I love saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I love what it means and the message behind it. And there was a shooting today in Utah County, our neighboring county, of a 31-year-old father, 31-year-old husband, who was very passionate about his cause. He was very passionate about the Constitution. He was very passionate about his feelings about it. Regardless if you share that passion or not, we live in America, and you should be able to be passionate about things, and you should be able to have open debate, and you shouldn't get shot for it. I think it's tragic that this happened in our state. I think it's tragic that it would happen anywhere in America. But I think it just brings to light the division and the intolerance that we're gaining in our country for other people's points of view. This individual's whole platform was, let's talk. Let's talk about things. Let's have a debate. That's how we work out our differences, is we talk about things. We don't shoot people. I think that it's terrible, and I think that we owe him a moment of silence, more than just him, but our nation a moment of silence, that we might set aside differences and that we might find better ways to actively debate with one another, to express our points of views. That's fine. That's good. It's healthy. And I hope that we can come back to that point and respect people's lives and respect them as individuals. And I'm asking if that would be okay if we just took a moment to think about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Any other comments from council tonight? We'll excuse Councilmember Hodges, who is on a work trip this week. At this point, we'll go to item 5, public comment. Audience members may bring any item within the city's purview to the City Council's attention. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes. State law prohibits the council from acting on items that do not appear on the agenda. Public comments for this meeting will also be conducted electronically. Any person interested in addressing the council may submit a comment by emailing recorder@harriman.gov or by visiting harriman.gov/agendas and minutes, where there's a link to fill out an online public comment form. Your statement will be incorporated into the public record. So at this point, we'll open the public comment. I have one here from Vicky Macias. Trying to understand what item are you? Those were both in the work meeting earlier. There was no decision. They were on the earlier, we just had a meeting at 5:30 before this. Do you want to make a comment to them then? And we can kind of let you know.
So I'm Vicki Macias. Do you need my address or no?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope, you're okay.
So why are we changing fiber companies, right? We hired another one that started us. Did we not?
And I'll just say, this is an additional. This is an in addition. So this just gives another option.
So we'll have two that are doing it instead of just one? Is that due to the lack of how long it's taken them to get us where we are?
I would say it's more options.
Maybe a better explanation is we're not changing anything. These are providers that residents can choose to use or not.
So is the same company still doing the initial install of the lines?
Whichever ones they are choosing to install, that's not a city function, that's,
So we're adding one.
these are private companies that are wanting to provide
Got it,
services.
okay. And the change on the master plan for the housing for Ivory, what did they want to change?
They were looking for some smaller options.
Still not sure.
Yeah, but we opted not to go.
Okay,
We did not look at
perfect.
that. So,
Thanks.
and Blake says he will step outside with you to talk about the fiber options and just kind of explain it a little more. That way you've got some more information right now. So, you bet. Thank you, Vicki. Okay, any other public comment at this time? Okay, we'll move on to our council reports tonight. We'll start with Jared.
From the fire board, nothing from the board, but please, I look over at Chief Whittison. He's our liaison, but also is in charge of the wildlands. Please, please, please be conscientious out there. UFA also, I don't do much social media, but my attention was called to the lithium-ion battery thing that was posted. Please research the dangers that lithium-ion batteries, especially charging in your garages, the dangers of that. Those things easily combust, especially with hot weather. There's an increasing number of structure fires due to those batteries. Anything from power tools to the e-bikes and scooters and all those things that we're seeing.
Okay, perfect.
No, I missed that one too.
Okay, Sherry, anything tonight?
Tara and I had the opportunity to meet with the youth council last week, Friday and Saturday, to do their annual retreat. We just meet here at City Hall, and we just have a 2-day event, Friday afternoon, evening, and then Saturday morning. And just a shout out to the youth in our community. This year we have 31, maybe 30 kids, 31 that had applied, but youth that are participating in this program, and they're just leaders. It's fun to watch them plan their activities and really run their own meetings, run with their ideas and chat about different things, ways that they can enhance our community, and the service they provide to our community is just invaluable. So just a big shout out to the leaders that the parents of our community are raising. These are good kids, so thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Tara?
I'll just add that I went to the mosquito abatement board meeting, and the number, although very small, the tax increase was adjusted down from 99 cents per year per household to 77 cents per year per household. But the big takeaway from the meeting was that our West Nile virus numbers are going up, and so use your mosquito repellent and wear your long sleeves, especially at dusk and dawn.
Would you like to report on Camp Williams? Kind of share a little bit of that experience?
Yeah, so we were invited out with also some of the other neighboring city councils and city staff to visit Camp Williams and to be able to talk a little bit about, I don't know, land issues and being good neighbors, and to be able to be more informed on what activities that they are doing as we're just so close to each other and need that increased awareness.
Perfect. Thank you, Tara. I think the only additional thing I'll kind of report on, we had two ribbon cutting and then a groundbreaking for some parks. We did a ribbon cutting at the Mountain Ridge Park, Phase 1, over on 138 South. really cool what do they call that? All Abilities Playground over there on the eastern side of the city. And then we broke ground for a new trailhead up at White Hollow this week as well. So that'll have the parking lot and then the challenge staircase, which 250 stairs, did you say 250 to 260? So that'll be a really cool feature over there. So a lot of cool stuff going on. So
A cool feature in that people really want to run up 258 stairs.
I'd get up about 10 of them. Okay. We'll move on to our reports tonight and presentations. Tonight, we welcome Mountain West Chamber of Commerce and for their annual presentation. So Susan, we'll start with you. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. I'm Susan with the Mountain West Chamber. It's nice to see some friendly faces up here. I've been around a long time. The Chamber, when they first started, one of the first ribbon cuttings it ever did was for a Chevron, and it was the one in Harriman. So we've been around a really long time, a lot longer than you guys might have lived in Harriman. So we're just really happy to let you know what we've been doing. We've added some new programs. We've expanded some of the existing ones, and we have 2 people from our board of directors that are here to help do that with the presentation. We have Megan Bennett from Edward Jones and Stephanie Azico from CMIT Solutions. I'm going to turn the time over to them.
All right, as Susan said, my name is Megan Bennett, and I previously was a board, or the chairwoman of the board for the Mountain West Chamber. I now still sit on the board. Thank you for having us today and letting us be here and talk a little bit about the chamber and what we do for the community. So we all know the famous line that the only constant in life is change. Susan alluded to that a little bit, especially in the 20 plus years that the Mountain West Chamber has been serving this area. It's constantly changing, not only for our community members, but for our business owners, right? New technology, population growth, all of the things are always going. But the one constant is that people are still at the center of what we do and their purpose in what they do in community. And I think to me, that's one of the things that stands out the most about the chamber is that purpose and that people-oriented focus has stayed true. And so we'll share some things of what we have been doing, some new changes that we've been making to stay towards that progress. So in preparation of tonight, I was thinking, I get asked a lot, why the chamber, right? Like, why should I join it? Why do you care? Why do you put in your time? And I always come back to this documentary I told Mary Palmer about one time called Join or Die, which sounds very dramatic. It's on Netflix. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend that you do. But it's based on a book called Bowling Alone by Robert Putnam. And at the end of it, the entire purpose is the fact that we have lost a lot of the things that help to bridge these gaps. And you talked about our society, right? Our political society, we struggle to talk about our differences, but more importantly, we really struggle to talk about our similarities. And he really talks about how these social interactions, whether it's chambers of commerce or Rotary clubs or churches or choirs or bowling clubs, work so hard to bring us all together, regardless of those differences, and the impact that that's having on society. And so to me, when I think about the Chamber of Commerce, that is really the resounding beauty of what we do, is bring these people together so that we still can find those similarities and be able to bridge community and business together. So that's what it means to me. But that's also, I think, what separates Mountain West Chamber from some of the others, is that we are very focused on our communities as well. Not only do we focus on the businesses and support the businesses here in Harriman and the other cities that are nearby, but we do a lot within the community as well to honor our teachers and scholarship programs and our local heroes and things like that. And I really believe at the end of the day, it isn't just about wealth accumulation, right? For a business owner, for a city, for anybody, and that sounds backwards being a financial planner, but we really don't. It is a tool that helps us to provide our purpose, but it really isn't the purpose that most of us are living for every day. That being said, we all like money. So why is a chamber important from an economic standpoint? One of the focuses of the Mountain West Chamber is small businesses, and by definition is less than 100 employees. But most small businesses are actually less than 10 employees. And there's a very big difference between a 10-employee business, a 100-employee business, and thousands of employees. And what they need looks different.
44% of the overall GDP in the United States is believed to come from small businesses, and of that, 80% is believed to come from less than 10 employees. Those stats are hard to get because the definition is so broad, but that's kind of the generic belief, is that almost 40% of overall GDP comes from employers with less than 10 employees. It's a significant piece, and that is really who we focus on. So who is Mountain West? As Susan said, we've been around a very long time, and we've done a lot of different things over the years, but really there's 4 legs to the chamber. There's the networking that we provide, the education that we provide, the community impact, and advertising, which is something that we are working very hard on changes within technology to help boost that for the community. So I'm gonna hand it over to Stephanie to talk about networking. Nope. Community and advertising. I will come back for networking and the other piece.
As I said, I'm Stephanie Isico. I have a home-based business here in Harriman, and we have an office in South Jordan. And community events. Some of the funnest events we do are with the community. We do an annual teacher appreciation luncheon where we have each school within the Harriman, Riverton, Bluffdale area nominate one teacher of their choosing, and the teacher and the principal director comes to a catered luncheon with us. Last year we had 31 teachers, both from Jordan District, from local charter schools, and from local private schools. We had swag bags with donations from local businesses, and they are all themed. We have wonderful decorations. We've held many of them just downstairs in the community room. That is often looked forward to by many educators, and being in PTAs at my children's local schools, it's something that they look forward to, and I've been asked already, when will we be having that? Another thing we do is scholarships. We do 8 scholarships, so Riverton, Harriman, and Mountain Ridge each get 2 $1,500 scholarships. Providence, Hull, and Summit, smaller schools, they each get 1. These are students who are not your typical scholarship recipient. They're not the Sterling Scholar. They're not the football captain. They are kids who are nominated by their guidance counselors who have improved the most. They have stories of hardship. Some are working full-time jobs and going to high school in order to help their parents make ends meet. Some of them are refugees who've come from war-torn countries and haven't been to school in several years, so they had to play catch-up. But these are students who are very deserving of help, and we are giving them money that they can use not only for university, but also for trade school. So if they just want to go to be a mechanic, they have that opportunity, which most scholarships do not allow for. Our Night of Heroes. I'm sure Officer Whittison has attended one of our Night of Heroes. We have police, fire, charities, small businesses, larger businesses, women in business, men in business, men in business, different leaders that are nominated by members of the community that are recognized at a black tie event once a year, again with a catered dinner, and we get swag bags, which are donated from local businesses. Those are some of our community events that are the most popular. For education, we do 2 meetings each month. We have a Women in Business luncheon and a Lunch and Learn luncheon. Women in Business is not just for women. Men are allowed to come. But we usually have women speakers at that one. They are both semi-well attended. We get a dozen, maybe more, people to come out to those. We've done presentations on financial planning, retirement planning. AI has been a hot topic this year. We've had several AIs, social media marketing, several different marketing. We've done cybersecurity. We've done how to start up a small business, where to get loans, small business loans, and those. So they're great opportunities for people to come network and learn about topics that may interest them. Megan, she has networking and advertising.
Yeah, so from a networking standpoint, we have worked with a couple of other chambers as well. So there's First Fridays where we all come together. That's a rather large, but it is all across the valley. So there's lots of different areas, but a quick way to get in some good networking for our local businesses. We have started doing some pop-up lunches as well to try and drive some business for either new businesses that are opening here in the cities or that maybe have expressed to us that they're struggling and we want to get a little bit of exposure to them as well. We obviously do our ribbon cuttings. I know everybody is familiar with those. We have done 21 so far this year, and I think there's 2 or 3 on the calendar for this month, if I remember correctly. And in that, I just wanted to speak to the growth that we have had in the chamber. We actually have grown 18% year over year of new members joining with the Mountain West Chamber. And really, the reason that we have heard a lot is that smaller approach. There's 12 to 30. We obviously have some events that are 50 plus, but it's not easy to be able to network and build relationships and get to know one another when it gets too big in the room. And so, yeah, so that growth is something we're very excited about and very proud of. Advertising is one of those things. I mentioned change at the beginning, right? It's constant, and technology moves at lightning speed. But that is one thing that we have been working very hard to grow our social media presence, our advertising leg for the businesses within the chamber. We now have 731 followers for the Mountain West Chamber, and our most recent post reached over 15,000 people. And that is from not only our followers, but the businesses that we're promoting and their followers as well. So very, very proud to see that growing at the speed that it has, because yeah, that's been an awesome turnaround. We also have implemented what's called Local Link, which is a way for businesses to put in campaigns around discounts and things like that and drum up more foot traffic into their businesses. And I would say that one we're actively working on. It's not a one and done and wow, look how incredible that was, right? It's going to take some time and effort, but we're definitely starting to see that one's legs pick up and the ground getting underneath us. So excited for the change to come. We had a really good conversation today with the board about what our future looks like, what commitment we have to these next phases, and how we want to continue being here to stay focused on the community and the businesses and bridging those gaps together.
We're just really happy to be here. We've enjoyed the support of Harriman City for 25 plus years. And I can say that I am currently #1 on the Local Link scavenger hunt. So my children have enjoyed such things as discounts at Menchie's. I've gotten free groceries at Lee's Market. We've gone to a sports game. We've done some fun things. So if you haven't done that, I recommend downloading the app and doing that. We've been here for a long time. We hope to be here for a long time. We all live in Harriman. We work in Harriman. We love Harriman. We want to see it grow and to just be the best city that it can be in the Salt Lake Valley. So, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. We appreciate all you do to support our small businesses and all the businesses in the area. So, you got more? You have any questions for the Mountain West Chamber? Any questions?
Thank you.
Very easy. Thank you, ladies, and Jackson for being here. Okay, we'll move on to our consent agenda tonight, then look for a motion on that.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Second.
Motion by Sherry, second by Jared. Jared?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Tara? Yes. And I'll vote yes, that motion carries. We'll go to item 10.1, review and consider an ordinance to amend City Code subsection 10-3-5 to define retaining walls, subdivision walls, surcharge, and building height, and add subsection 10-29 to regulate the construction and placement of retaining walls. Michael.
Thank you. So as you introduce this item, there are a number of different components that all really stemmed from a review of our retaining wall regulation. This began with the council adopting what's called a pending ordinance notice that allows us to step back, review our codes with the intent of clarifying, identifying deficiencies, and then ultimately helping us to better administrate that ordinance. A draft ordinance was, had a public hearing at the Planning Commission in July. Planning Commission voted 4-2 to recommend approval with the modifications. And I think generally the concern on those two votes the code is in some ways more restrictive, but it also opens up specific exceptions that we think will actually better meet our needs, especially during the master planning and master development process. So it includes a number of definitions. Some of these are just redefining existing terms, but for example, we have not had a specific term or regulation for subdivision wall. This is trying to encourage our development partners to think a little bit more forward as far as where those significant grade changes would need to happen in a master plan subdivision. The subdivision wall can be a little bit taller than what perhaps might happen on an individual property, as far as like in a single lift, and we'll show some illustrations for that. So we're going to be including some illustrations in our city code, which we currently don't have. We have it in our engineering standards, but not in the city code itself, and being very clear as to what these terms mean and how they apply. We are guiding where these retaining walls can be. We often have had conflicts with placing retaining walls or the request to place a retaining wall within a public utility easement. There is an opportunity for a property owner to seek a waiver from those utility companies. That's pretty typical. But we wanted to guide that process a little bit more so that we're not creating a problem for the next door neighbor when those retaining walls are being built closer to the property line, like within a PUE. We also are looking at heights and setting maximum heights for a single lift in certain scenarios. Really trying to encourage, though, more of that stepped retaining wall system, which you often see, these tiered systems, and saying that when you go up so high, you need to step back so many feet. So it brings more clarity to that regulation versus just relying on engineering proposals. So we're having more kind of anticipations in the code itself. A lot of times we've had problems with you can grade your property to accommodate development, but it creates kind of a surprise for the neighbor because of the excessive grading that might happen. And so these codes, I think, will predict more what can be expected on private property. Another thing that we're doing is having more regulations on these rockeries, the engineering requirements for how these rockeries are to be employed. They're the wall systems that we've had some of the more significant problems with, as far as like failure and weeping and some different issues. Again, in the subdivision wall, you can see here we've actually allowed a 9 foot in height in a rockery, with more engineering expected as part of the subdivision review. So that's taller than what would happen in by a resident, for example. So trying to get that design earlier in the process. That also led into looking at how we're measuring height, and that was another issue that our city attorney's office was very concerned with. Being more clear, what are those elements on a building that should be excused or allowed to exceed our height? And we have that right now in our current code, but this is a little bit more specific. With that said, after this item went to the Planning Commission, there was a recommendation that we still dial in this height measurement tool. And so with the advice and consent of our city attorney's office, specifically, I think, Todd, you're the one who worked on this, we actually are proposing to the council 2 different methods of measuring height. One is a little more restrictive, and I have an illustration of that, and I think it might have been in your packet as well. And the other one is a little bit more or less restrictive, more favorable for allowing taller buildings. So in this example, you can see option 1 and option 2. Option 1 says no elevation can exceed 35 feet in height average or exposed. So same building, but if we apply option 1, You can see in this red kind of bubbled section, we have two elevations. The right elevation is at 37 feet and rear is 42 feet. So under option one, this building would not work. It would be too tall and we would need to see some type of modification to allow this building to be constructed. Option two is saying that you're going to do an average of all of the elevations combined, and the average combined can't exceed whatever that maximum height is for that zone. So applying that option two, this same building would actually be okay, because the average height for all elevations would be less than 35 feet.
And to expand on the exception, Michael is probably going to get there, is that any one side cannot exceed 125% of the underlying zone's building height. So in a residential zone, which 35 feet is the maximum height, one side or any side could not exceed 45 feet because that's 125%. So just wanted to clarify, there is a cap on what that average actually looks like in the event you take option two.
Yeah. And as far as the planning staff who typically is in reviewing this on building permits, we're the ones who are applying these regulations. We were fine with either methodology. And I think, Todd, you felt the same way. It was just bringing clarity and just wanting to give you these two options.
Some of the considerations for option one versus option two is what's left to be built in Harriman, and a lot of it is hillside development. So one of your considerations is because there's going to be more hillside development, do you want to be more permissive with that, or do you want a more hard stance on it? Permissive being that you could be a little bit more creative from a developer standpoint on how that looks on a hillside, as opposed to option one. So, but really there is no, I don't think, a recommendation from planning or myself on which one you choose. We needed a tighter way to calculate height, and this ordinance does that regardless of what option you choose.
Yeah. So again, the Planning Commission did make these recommendations. I know it's a lot of words to take in, but again, most of it is just trying to codify what we think are best practices relative to retaining walls. And then again, from that, we recognize that we needed to redefine other terms within our code for consistency. I think my team is really excited about the idea of identifying the subdivision wall element and trying to encourage our partners to implement that earlier in the development phase rather than later. It seems like a lot of times those walls are getting deferred to individual property owners or even builders as they're coming in and building each phase. And then the walls are coming in and it just surprises everyone. They weren't expecting that to be built next to them in that fashion. So.
Okay. Thoughts from council on this?
I was curious about the height of the rockery. You put, there was a 9-foot height restriction on the height of rockery.
In a single lift, right, and that would be as part of the subdivision review. You could still have a higher rockery, but you'd have to step it.
Yeah, you still have to step, don't you? 3-1, 3-1.
Well, a rockery has a good slope to it, so it's almost like a slope protection. Once you get above probably 6 or 7 feet, you often see fabric and engineered design. Since it's that tall, it will have an engineering design with it. So that design will include tiebacks, which are fabric or something to hold that in place and stop it from migrating. So 9 feet was where the engineering group felt pretty
That
comfortable.
rockery has to be on a certain slope.
3-1.
What was that question?
Does the rockery have to be on a certain slope, or we're
It's called a
allowing?
batter, and so it's like a 1.5 to 1 batter that it lays back. So it's not vertical; it lays back a little bit.
That's a slope, Blake. Come on.
It's a slope. It's just
So I'm
really-
saying they can't go and just stack
So it's not
rocks
like a
up
3-1?
9 feet tall.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It'd have to be engineered at that point. So
Right.
Our allowable slope that we allow is a 3-to-1 typically, and so this lets them go a bit steeper, so you get to use more of your yard.
So they can go steeper than the 3-1.
If they do, they have to do a wall to go steeper.
Yeah.
And it can
Wall or
still be a
rock.
wall of rocks.
Rockery, yep. They were always called walls before I started here, and we defined them as different in the code. So yeah, rockery is a stack of rocks,
Yeah.
engineered stack of rocks.
It's just interesting to me because I thought that the 3-1 rule would still apply, but it does not on rockery walls.
Yeah,
9
3-to-1
feet
would
seems
be a
high to
sort of
me.
slope.
I just worry about some of the stuff that we deal with
Well, that's
sliding
why-
rocks. You can't have a fence higher than 6 feet tall. Why can you have
I
a
asked,
wall
9
of
feet
rocks
seems
9
pretty
feet
high.
tall? Anyway. But that was why, is because engineering-wise, you felt like that could be
Yeah,
supported?
That's pretty good rule of thumb. If you're ever bored, the Federal Highways Administration has a lot of documentation on rockeries, and so it's good reading, and that's where their 9 feet that's where they kind of stuck their max level on rockeries without doing a whole bunch of extensive earthwork and stabilization behind the wall.
I know it gets hard because it's like, to Todd's point, we're building up the side of the mountain now, so we're going to see a lot more of that. But what I don't want to see is a lot more failures on that either, because we allowed it to be too tall or too much. Because we see that happen a lot, it seems like.
Yeah, I think that was the concern why this ordinance came forward is, I think in the work meeting, we showed a wall that was like 25 feet tall, just sitting right next to a house. I'm like, we do not want that. We need some plans and the terracing. So on the walls, they go a certain distance and they got a terrace. Same with the rockeries. And the key piece to go 9 feet, it's not just a guy out there stacking rocks. They're gonna have to have an engineered plan. So we have seen rockeries built here when we went out. One was an encroachment. We went out and the small rocks were on the bottom, the big rocks were on the top. And it's like, okay, one, you're on the city property, so you have to take it out, but you built it backwards.
Interesting. Those were my biggest questions. What do you guys feel
Okay.
about the option 1 or option 2? I should have let you ask that.
No, you're fine. You're just fine.
I'm a bit agnostic. To Todd's point, that's where my brain went was, well, this really applies to the south end of town where we're gonna have a whole bunch on that end. Option 2 seems to make sense when it comes to that, and having the limitations, I think, prevents the problem out in my area where it's flat.
I can see that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about a particular home that's in my area that I wonder how this would have applied to them if we'd allowed the option
one I was
2
thinking about,
versus
too.
option 1. Anyway, I don't
Would that one now be on compliance now?
know because it was built prior.
If it's the
Going
home that
forward.
I'm thinking about, no, it still would be out of compliance
Because it's too high.
under either option.
Yeah,
Under either option, okay.
yeah. I don't know. I don't want to see mountainous things going up the side of the mountain either. It's like, it's nice to see something blend in a little bit to the hillside rather than see really tall things going up the sides of our hills, because when you're downhill from it, you're going to see a 45-foot structure potentially versus a 35-foot structure. So then that's a little bit.
These will be these, of course, are the homes that are built on the downhill slope. Those going up, they'll have to, you're likely to see the garages on the ground floor and all that. The elevation would be the front elevation, so you could see it bigger. The example here is kind of like the side, it's built on a side, but on that downhill slope. So I think either one works. 2 probably has just a little bit more flexibility than option 1.
Yeah.
I'm okay with 2. Taryn, where you at? Where you feeling?
Strong preference.
Yeah, I don't have a strong, my only issue is just that, because it seems like you could look up and see a 45-foot sidewall, right? Of the house. Anyway. Blend into the mountain, but it's not the environment that will happen, so it's all good.
Yeah. You go with
Yeah.
2 then? You okay with 2, you said? We can't all 4 be agnostic on this. We have to pick one.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number, I keep looking down the line for somebody else to get this going.
Do it.
2025-20, amending Title 10 of the Harriman City Code to modify definitions and land use regulations affiliated with retaining walls and, I don't know what, and using option 2 on building height presented.
That work, Michael? Okay. Got a motion by Jared.
I'll second.
We'll do a second by Tara. We'll do a roll call. Tara?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. That motion carries. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you for the subdivision walls, though. That's good.
It's a big deal. Yep. Okay, we'll go to 10.2. Blake, you want to go see if he's out there?
I called him, and he said he was on his way.
Okay, well, let's start. We'll do 10.2, request from MLM Holdings LLC to renew, update a land transfer agreement. Todd?
All right. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Previously, we had a business owner here in Harriman, Michael Mays, approach the city and ask the city to deed him property that we owned. It was about 4.65 acres in exchange for him installing certain public improvements on that property, which would be quite expensive, and to build an indoor baseball facility. And that is one of the goals of the general plan, is to kind of be a destination sports facility, and I believe that the council at the time really caught on to that vision. Mr. Mays, for various reasons, failed to perform under the agreement, under the strict conditions and the timeframes. Part of the issue in the agreement was the condition to purchase the adjacent property. Mr. Mays has revised his plan, so his new plan shows that this development could be fit on Harriman property, the 4.65 acres in totality, and not need to bleed out on that adjacent property. The agreement is largely the same with the updated concept plan and timelines, but there are a few key additions that we added in here. First is we added a couple new parties to the agreement. Before, the agreement was with MLM Holdings. It was a new company, 0 assets, except for this land. But other than that, it was just a new company. Because DBAT was going to essentially be operating from this facility and close down the other one, we felt like DBAT should be a party to the agreement, as well as Mr. Mays. He would be individually responsible for the performance of the agreement. The second thing that the agreement does is that any loans that are going to be held against the property are going to be secondary to the city's interest. And that there would be a reversionary deed that would be signed in advance, so that way if there is a default, we have the deed and we can record it against the property. And lastly, the agreement requires any investor to acknowledge that they have read and reviewed this agreement. We would also record this agreement against the property. Previously, in the deed that we had, it referenced the agreement. It said that the agreement was available from the city recorder, but we did not record it. So those are the key additions that we included to offer some more protection to the city in the event that there's a failure to complete this project. I'm happy to answer any questions, or I believe Mr. Mays just walked in, and if you have any questions of him, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer. And because this is property that Harriman has an interest in, if there's questions that we need to go into to talk about the agreement and certain terms, we can go into closed session under the purposes to go into closed session. So just to keep that in the back of your mind.
That's what I would propose. All of my questions have to do with different scenarios and pretending, I don't know if there's actual litigation that's begun or pending. I have a whole ton of questions to follow up on our previous closed session and the options that we laid forward, which were not this option necessarily.
Okay, so I guess for the public, so we'll go into closed. By state statute, we can go into closed to discuss this, but then we will come out to vote. If we want to vote.
You can
or
have
make a
additional
decision.
discussions and vote on this, yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, at this point, then, I like that, so let's do a motion to go into a closed. Somebody have the,
I suggested it, I'm not gonna do the action.
Do it. You said it.
It's stopped short.
Okay, I'll make a motion to temporarily recess the city council meeting to go into closed meeting for the following purpose as provided in Utah State Code annotated 52-4-205, strategy sessions to discuss pending or reasonably imminent litigation, which probably it's actually more D, strategy sessions to discuss the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property, or to discuss a proposed development agreement, project proposal, or financing proposal related to the development of land owned by the city.
okay, I have a motion by Tara,
Second?
second by Sherry. Tara?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.
I'll vote yes, so we will go into closed. Let's go back to Fort Harriman with all of us on the dais, Wendy Blake, Mr. Mays, and you're, right? Do we need them?
Not
Not
at
for
this
this
point.
part.
Not right now. We'll call you in, Michael, if we need you then. And I think, is that it?
Myself.
Okay, and I said all of us on the dais, and then, okay. We'll go in there. We'll be back as soon as we can.